international people. Thank you for tuning in. You have Louise Uwachu still broadcasting live from Vancouver, Canada, today on February 7th. Yes, oh. February 7th, 2013. February 7th is a very, very, very special day to me, and a very special day because it's the date on which Professor Sheikh Anta Diop passed away in 1986. Now, Sheikh Anta Diop is the prophet when it comes to history, science, writing, and when it comes to telling the truth about ancient history. So since we're talking about rebirth and life and death, and so today we will talk about a very interesting subject with a very interesting guest, and which will bring us to talking about history, science, and all those things. Special topic today being to speak or not to speak English. Ooh, that is the spell. That is the spell. Okay, so I don't even know if I speak English. Obviously, English is like my 10th language. I spoke many other languages before I spoke English. And obviously, I speak English, write in English. I'm about to publish a second book in English. But today we're going to find out a few mysteries about the English language. And hopefully in the future, we will learn to say the right thing in the right language. All right? Thank you for being with us, my international people. Watch with you live from Vancouver. And good evening, Miss Dr. Yafa Bey.
Good evening, Louise. Hi, how are you?
I'm so great, and thank you for being here on a special show, on a special day. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome, and happy Earth Arrival Day to you.
Oh.
Thank you for doing a show on your very special day. You know, when people say happy so-called New Year, this is your New Year.
Oh, you know, thank you very much. Earth Arrival, eh?
Yeah, the day you arrived on the planet in this particular form.
Yes, I came
and
here.
And would be the start of your new solar year, so it's happy New Year to you.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a year full of truth and knowledge.
Yeah, well, let's hope that this is the most successful and opulent, prosperous year you've ever had.
Thank you. I will make that a reality. So, Dr. Yabe, you are in California now?
No, actually, I'm not in California any longer.
Uh-huh.
I am now in Phoenix, Arizona.
Oh, Phoenix, Arizona.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I see. And you have wrote a very interesting book called Piercing the Fog, and I have been watching many of your videos on the internet, and I was blown away.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I didn't upload them. That thing that they call Piercing the Fog is not actually Piercing the Fog. Piercing the Fog came out probably 5 years prior to that.
Mm-hmm.
The one on internet, on YouTube, called Piercing the Fog is really sharing clarity in Chicago on how to use the dictionary. The real Piercing the Fog, I'm wearing all white.
Mm-hmm.
I am not a part of the YouTube family. I didn't upload anything to YouTube. I cannot post any comments on YouTube. I can't vote on whether I like or dislike a thing. I'm not a part of the YouTube family, but I'm aware that I'm all over the place out there.
You're in so many places. It's funny because you're not on Facebook. You're not on those social medias either.
No, I'm not, but, someone told me there's a Facebook page for me. I'm not a part of Facebook or Twitter or Boxby or LinkedIn or AIM or Yahoo or Google Groups. I'm not interested. MySpace, I'm not, and I don't want to be. And every single day I get invitations to all of these things that I'm not going to participate in.
Mhm. Wow. Now, what do you do all the time that you gain instead of being on Facebook? Because I'm feeling my time.
I am on the phone. I can't hear. Say that again. Go on your room, please.
I was saying, like, what do you do with your time since you're not?
My 3-year-old. I do my 3-year-old. Go in your room, please.
She wants to be part of the show, right?
She wants to be a part of me. You know, go on. Yeah. She's a sweetie pie, but she's a handful, and it's all I can do to keep up with her. You know, I have like 12 different email addresses. I've had my cell phone turned off. Well, not the phone. The phone has been on, but the ringer has been turned off since December 20th because I just haven't felt like talking. I just don't want to talk. I don't want to interact. I'm so drained. I'm trying to recoup my energy to the best of my ability with my 3-year-old. But I did check my email yesterday in case you had something to say, and I checked it again today in case you had something to say.
Yeah.
Other than that, I'm at a point where out of the 12 email addresses I have 1 or 2 that I check maybe once a week, every other week. Then I have some I check once a month, and I have one, my donation email address. I only check that every 2 months because no one donates. But I just haven't wanted to talk. But I did get your email, and I'm definitely honored to be here.
Very
and
grateful.
I'm very impressed with your language. Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. It's not a problem. It's my pleasure. Come out of there, Miss Ann. Go in the room and sit down somewhere. Go get on the computer and draw and animate something. So, yeah.
Yes. So let's get into the subject of the English language. What do you consider? What's the English language? What do you consider the English language, and how did you get into this research? How did it start?
Oh, wow. How did it start? I began dating a guy that was a member of the Yahweh Ben Yahweh Hebrew Israelite group. He's, by the way, the guy that gave me the name Yafa.
Mm-hmm.
And, he started showing me some different things about words. And I guess I just took it to a whole different level.
Mm-hmm.
He showed me a bit about the Strong's Exhaustive Concordance as well. And we used to debate and dispute over certain subjects and things, and it's like he would always tell me, we can disagree without being disagreeable, just be calm. So, he's no longer on the plane. He's already made his transition and crossed over to the other side. Mm-hmm. But, I guess that was the first thing that kind of got me going. LAPD Framing My Son kind of took me to a different level of finding out what I was dealing with. But as far as this English is one of these two-edged swords. It's a language that people speak the language, and they really, for the most part, do not know what they're saying. It's sort of like a language is like a hodgepodge of I'm on the phone, go away. It's sort of like a hodgepodge of everyone else's language that someone threw against the wall, and whatever stuck is called English. But when you really look into it, there's Japanese in there, and there's English and French and German and Russian and some of everything going on. It made up this thing called English. And I have found it to be a spell that when people utter it, they really are placing, spinning curses around the world and not knowing it. Because they don't know what they're saying most of the time. And people will say to me, well, you're getting caught up in semantics. I'm like, yeah, but see, in English, semantics is what's kicking your butt, especially when it comes to legislation and the judicial system and legalese. People go in speaking everyday English, and the people in the courtroom are talking something entirely different, knowing that the people have no clue what they're saying. Like, for example, a very simple word like Y-O-U. You know, everybody thinks that you is a general term, but when you, I'm on the phone. When you yourself are interacting with people you know every day, you can utilize the term you all day long. But when you step inside of a courtroom, you better be wide awake about the word YOU, because that word can put a noose around your neck.
So what does the word mean?
Well, YOU is always plural in English. It's a plural term. It always means more than one. Like, for example, we are, they are, you are. That's plural. I am, he is, she is. That's singular. So when people start talking about you inside of a courtroom, they are referring to multiple entities. There is you, yourself, the flesh and bone, natural person that has walked into the room. I said, get out of here. I'm on the phone. There is the legal person or the corporate fiction entity that some people call a straw man or strawmanius homo. And then there is the new thing that is created when you yourself, the living person, does not know the distinction between you yourself, the natural person, and the legal person, and those two get joined together to create a third thing in a merger that they can move forward in the world of commerce.
Aha. So now when you go in court, how many people are you? And how many people are you supposed to be? Who are you supposed to be?
Well, when you yourself walk into a courtroom, there's only one you yourself. But there are other forms of you that you yourself can utilize for your benefit, which you yourself do utilize it for your benefit when you go and get so-called jobs in the corporate world. They have to utilize a corporate legal person to hire the natural being nowadays, the way things are set up. So you yourself benefit when you yourself get your tax return refunds. You yourself reap the rewards of the corporate you or the legal person you. When you yourself walk into a courtroom, depending on whether you're the defendant, the plaintiff, if it's civil or criminal, I said I'm on the phone. Can you go somewhere else? Whether or not it's civil or criminal, you yourself may benefit, or you can find yourself very much at a disadvantage in the matter.
Now, I had a question. This brings us to some particular words. Like, for example, what does nationality means versus citizenship, and what is your status in America?
Well, right now, my status is that of most melanin-rich people that were found in America when the Europeans showed up. And actually, we were found all over the Americas when the Europeans showed up, because prior to their arrival, the Americas were not chopped up into North America, Central America, and South America with the islands, okay? The people were interrelated all throughout the Americas, from Canada all the way down to Peru and the islands in between, Alaska. They were all interrelated somehow. But the Europeans called us American when they first got here, meaning the copper-colored races that the Europeans found here. When you find the original definition of American, the original definition meant the copper-colored races of people that the Europeans found here, where copper is the color of a United States Indian head penny, which is like the color of a Hershey's chocolate bar. And it can be lighter, copper can be lighter, and it can be darker. But when those people were talking about copper, they had not seen spit-shine brand-new copper. By the time they saw it, it had its patina on it. I keep telling you that I'm on the telephone. Stop playing with me. Go in there until I'm done. It had already acquired its patina in its brownness. And a lot of people go, well, I'm darker than copper. It's like, have you seen copper? Copper can get very, very dark. Very dark. So the people that were here were the sovereigns of the land at the time. We are no longer sovereigns on the land because we are not self-sufficient. In order to be sovereign, you have to be autonomous. We are not autonomous. We are in this subjugated, symbiotic relationship with the corporate United States, which is a military arm for the European Union. So our nation has been subjugated by another nation, and that means that our nation has been nationalized. When it becomes nationalized, that means it has lost its sovereign status and now is sort of subordinate to something else or some other foreign type entity.
Mhm. So now, what does like being black mean? Because we're in like Black History Month and people keep talking about Black history. Now, what is the relationship between black and these copper-colored race nation people that you are talking about? And so, what's their status? What's an African American? What's an American citizen?
Well, American citizens have become a very broad concept, but America really has no citizens. The black thing, people have come to utilize this term black, which really originally meant, and I submit to you that a term means now what it always has meant and what it originally meant. It originally meant bleached up, pale, and white in color. So the people that everyone now calls white are really the people that are black and originally were and always have been by definition. But
what's the definition of white?
White is supposed to be about being, well, there are a couple of whites. You have Y-I-W-I-T-E, I think it's W-Y-T-E, W-H-I-T-E. One is supposed to be about purity. The other one is supposed to be about punishment. And I can't recall the third off the top of my head. But when you utter the word, they all sound the same. So if a word sounds the same, and it has the same frequency going out into the omniversal forces. But a lot of times people take this language called English, and they will take a term that means something in your language or it's so close in resonance, and then they will tweak it a little bit and make it something else. Okay? Like, let me think, for example, you got Nasi. Nasi is a very ancient term, but a lot of people, the people that are currently misruling the world, have transliterated to Nazi. So a lot of times people don't get it together. Like a brother was telling me a long time ago, he says, people keep hearing dollar, and dollar sounds so much like Allah. They keep getting them confused. So when you take a word and you tweak it just a little, then people don't understand. Like the word niggers, N-E-G-U-S. No, there's a term that means an Ethiopian noble or an Ethiopian royal or an Ethiopian king. Well, the term Ethiopian means dark complexion face. Like European or European means a pale complexion face. E-U-R means pale. E-T-H means this so-called term that we keep calling dark or so-called blackness. When you see E-T-H in front of anything, ethnics, ethics, ethereal, you're starting to talk about melanin richness. But when you see E-U, for example, E-U means good and well, but E-U-R means bleached up and pale. So as E-U-R, European, because O-P means face, European means a person whose face is bleached up and pale in color. And Ethiopian, because O-P means face, Ethiopian means a person whose face is dark or birth-looking in complexion. So the term niggas, because it's pronounced niggas, people try to mispronounce it, like, no, it's pronounced niggas. It means a dark complexion noble or royal. But a lot of people hear niggers, and they miscommunicate the two. And I tell people it may be possible that the Europeans that were in the Deep South that started calling us that, maybe because of their speech impediment, they may have been trying to say niggas and couldn't say it right. Here comes niggers, and now you're offended because of the the contorted way their face would look when they would say it.
I'm so happy that you say that, because I've always been saying, like, well, what is so wrong with the term niggas, because I didn't grow up with the term, so I couldn't really get offended by it, and I didn't understand why I didn't get offended by it until I researched it and found out what you just said. So it's kind of interesting when you speak about the vibration. So what is it about the vibration of a language that changes everything or makes you react in a different way?
Well, a lot of time, there's a movie, and I can't recall what the name of this movie was. I'm on the phone, I told you. It starred Martin Lawrence, and I talk about it often. And in this movie, he played some sort of a knight at an amusement park.
Yeah, I think it's Black Knight.
Is that what it's called, Black Knight?
I think
so, and he wound up unconscious in the past in medieval Europe or something, or medieval America, wherever he was.
Yes.
And this guy kept calling him a Moor.
Mm-hmm.
Even though, now the word Moor means any dark complexion person. But there are people that are called Moors that have basically helped take out a lot of the empires around the world. So it depends on what you're talking about. Now, this guy kept calling Martin Lawrence a Moor in this movie. And again, going back to the Europeans, and a lot of times the way that they contort their face when they say something from a place of hostility. And it may not even, the term they're using may not be a hostile term, but the way they appear to you, their countenance may come across as so hostile that you determine that whatever they're saying must be a hostile thing. And in this movie, Martin Lawrence he finally told him, he said, you gonna stop calling me that. I don't know what that is, but I'm not gonna be too many more of those. And it wasn't that he even knew what this guy was saying. He just knew that this guy kept calling him more, and something about the contorted countenance of his face made him think it had to be offensive. So you gonna quit calling me that? It must not be good because the way you look when you say it. He didn't know what it meant. Otherwise, he didn't even know what the word meant.
So two different people can say the same word and it would have two different meanings?
Not necessarily. It can have the same meaning. The word has the same meaning. Like, for example, the word nice. N-I-C-E. Oh, you're so nice. That was so sweet. Thank you. That was nice.
Yeah.
So the word nice means stupid, ignorant, foolish, and you do not know.
Oh, no.
So a lot of people that utilize the term nice are stupid, ignorant, and foolish about the meaning of the word.
Oh,
and it says in the dictionary that that's what it means, but most people don't look at brackets. When you look at the brackets, that's what it says. Now, because I say it not knowing what it means, does that change the frequency of the word? Absolutely not. The word means what it means, what it means. And there are people that will say things like, well, I'm a guy and I can say whatever I want, and the word should mean whatever I say. And I'm like, no, I don't. I disagree. When you say something, the frequency of the word is what it is, and always has been and always will be. The frequency of the word, whether you know what it means or not, is irrelevant to the frequency of it, sort of like a musician. When you start playing chords, a C sharp is a C sharp. Just because I'm a musician and I'm the master of music, I can't take the C sharp and all of a sudden it's B flat because I want it to be. It is what it is. And its frequency and resonance will remain the same despite what I try to call it when I try to play it. It will still resonate as a C flat, no matter what I call it, or a C sharp, whatever I said. I don't recall, C sharp. It will still resonate as a C sharp, and I can write the music and call it B flat all day, but whatever the frequency is that goes with it, it's still the frequency that goes with it.
It's very interesting, and then you said something in one of your videos about Michael Jackson making that song about him being bad, and then the definition of the word bad itself, and then you talk about, so many men nowadays wanting to be bad boys.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate because a lot of people are not aware. Go on, I told you. A lot of people are not aware of the fact that the word bad when you get into the brackets, it means an effeminate or womanish man. It also means a hermaphrodite. Now, the word man means supernatural force and power. You know what I'm saying? So an effeminate form of supernatural force and power could mean a few things. You know, that which is effeminate is also that which is so-called nature. So, you know, nature can be considered a bad thing as a feminine force of supernatural power. You see what I'm saying? But the average male, when they utilize this term for other males or male children, a lot of times you can start speaking because people become what you call them. You are what you say you are. And if you start repeating this spell over a child long enough, particularly a male child, then you will begin to effeminize the child.
So if you tell a male young boy that he's bad,
over and over again, remember, spells are things that need to be repeated, and especially the way the mind works. The mind does not accept things as real for it unless they're repeated over and over again. And I don't know, different minds are different repetitions required, but it depends on the mind of the individual you're talking to, how many times that needs to be repeated by the individual. Now, again, spells can be countered and counteracted because your brain is hardwired to follow your commands above and beyond all others. So even though your school teachers kept calling you a young male bad, your mom might have kept calling you bad, or your auntie or your neighbors kept saying you were bad, over time they can put that on you, and you wind up picking up certain female behaviors that would normally not be the case. So an individual would probably need to take, and it's difficult to get them now, an audio cassette or some other type dictaphone thing that has auto reverse that will replay over and over again nonstop until you turn it off or the batteries die on it unless it's plugged into a wall outlet. And you can counter the spell by calling yourself something else more potent with more supernatural force. And that will, because the recording is playing over and over in your own voice, your brain will accept it more quickly, and it will start countering everything else that's been put in there because it's coming from its own voice. It's coming from its own frequency. So when it hears it back, playing over and over again while you're sleeping, cleaning, watching sports, playing video games, your brain is reprogramming itself based on what it hears your voice say.
So you're saying that I should record myself telling myself some sweet things, and then I should listen to that.
Absolutely. But you want to do it when your conscious mind is preferably distracted, like when you are down for the night in what people call sleep. I call it quickening. When you're in your quickening state, which other people call a sleep state, which means dead, or when you are watching a sporting event or your soap operas or a movie or you're reading a book or you're playing video games or washing dishes or vacuuming or doing laundry, when you're consciously distracted is when your own voice saying more powerful things about you yourself should be playing in the background nonstop. Matter of fact, Tiger Woods, that's one of the ways, and it's a very effective, very functional method. Tiger Woods did that a lot when he was a child. He would record himself, and he would play to himself while he would sleep during the night on this little recorder that played the entire time he was quickening. And your body picks it up more when you're going into your state and when you're coming out of your state. But it still goes on even while you're in this state that people keep calling sleep. But one of the things he did to make himself one of the most favorable players of golf was to program himself to be such.
Wow. So what am I supposed to tell myself in these things? And which language am I supposed to use? Which words am I supposed to use? Am I not supposed to? Is this why all these gurus always tell you, like languages in Indian and all those other languages, words of power, like they call them in these other languages, to speak?
Oh, absolutely. But a lot of times the words of power that people give you are not the words of power you should use. Because oftentimes a lot of clergy, for lack of better words, which you're calling spiritual priests, reverends, ministers, gurus, babas, whatever people want to call them, a lot of these people, most of the time without their knowledge, are working for hostile spirit demonic forces that are working against them and all of mankind, humanity in general.
Mhm.
So a lot of times the words they use are not like the word Om. People use that a lot. It's like I don't think y'all saying that right. Because again, it's tweaking things. You know, people go Om. I think it's more Om. So if you say it wrong, if you tweak it off, then you're casting the wrong frequency and the wrong spell.
Mhm.
Now, in your case, because you have a language that is not English, it would always be best to utilize the language you grew up in. For people that grew up speaking Chinese, Japanese, whatever other language they speak, when they do their work, they should do the language that they grew up in. Unfortunately, if English is the language you grew up in, then English is the language you must utilize. But then one would need to make certain that the words that they select have been very well chosen. And I cannot suggest to you what words you should use. It depends on what it is you yourself are attempting to do. Some people want spiritual wealth. Some people want financial wealth. Some people want material possessions. Some people want love, and some people want to be idolized, and some people want fame. And I don't know. Everybody's journey is different. Some people want to create things. Some people want to, be a savant. I can't tell you what you should program yourself to do or say to yourself. But if you've been giving something really bad, like if people have been telling you, oh, you're a fat cow and you're stupid, and you've been growing up all your life and that's what you have subliminally recording in your mind, you'll never be anything, you're broke, you're nothing, you're nobody, then you need to counter that. So whatever it is that they've told you that you bought into, like you're fat and ugly, then I'm slim and beautiful, I'm becoming slimmer and more appealing. You need to come up with words that are going to counter whatever horrible spell people have shoved down your throat.
I see. So now, our ancestors, you call them our ancestors.
I call them ancestors.
Yeah.
Ancestors. But you can say ancestors. Go on, sister, I'm on the phone, man.
Speaking of having to repeat things, obviously we have proof today that you have to repeat things, especially to children, for them to understand it. You're going to keep saying that you're on the phone until the end of the show.
Unfortunately, that is one of the reasons why I stopped doing my show. Because the baby is such a distraction. Which may not be that bad for other people, but it derails my train of thought. And I have a tendency I need to work on, once I'm derailed from my train of thought, I have to find a way to get back to it. Because I have a tendency to forget completely what I was talking about when that happens. So go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. So which language do you speak to your child in then? And what
Unfortunately, English. I don't know what our original language was, and I don't know how much I should trust what the Europeans say, or even what the people on the reservations say, many of whom are Europeans, at best hybrids and half-breeds, and the people that are real Americans have been told something about being slaves and imported from Africa, and that's all over the Americas and around the world, for that matter.
So, in your view, how many people were into slavery and how many people were here who today are all of them called black? And what's this idea of telling people that they're slaves and imported into America instead of them being actually native of the land of America?
Well, one of the things that telling people that does is it disenfranchises you from your land and your heritage and attachment to the habitat of your ancient foremothers and forefathers. Your ancestors or predecessors had the Americas as their habitat. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So when people tell you that you were from somewhere else, they disconnect you from your birthright, which is your land. Now, they basically have killed off a vast majority of our people and gotten a lot of us to kill one another off as well. But they didn't import that many people at all. Compared to what the number that they've given, it's almost none. I can't remember the year, but there were 20 people imported into America from Africa on ships as slaves. And immediately after their arrival, they created the color line. You can only create I said I'm on the phone. You can only create the color line if you have a large enough presence of these different colored people. If you're going to create a so-called black and white color line, you cannot do that with 20 people.
Mm-hmm.
So that means that the 20 people that were imported look a lot like everybody else running around here. Remember, the so-called the slave story that they talk about really pertains to the people that now call themselves African American, and at one point were called Negro, and at one point were called black, and at one point were called colored, and originally were called American, and shortly after that called Indian, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But these individuals that are on the reservations that they call the Native American Indians, not all of them, but most of them are full of it. First of all, a lot of them will tell our people the thing about, we used to own your people as slaves. Well, that's interesting because there are really only two people in America that have been slaves. The people that were found here, for the most part, and a lot of the Europeans that they were calling indentured servants. They were a lot of them were slaves as well. But the people on the reservation keep forgetting about the fact that the Europeans came here, and it is heavily documented that the so-called American Indians were enslaved. Well, that it's economically feasible to come to a land and enslave the people you find there. It is not financially sound or economically intelligent to take a bunch of people from overseas, pack them like sardines on ship, have high collateral damage of people that are dying from feces, urine, whatever the case may be, disease, jumping on board, whatever the case, or jumping overboard, whatever the case may be. And then you have this high collateral damage of loss. And you can barely feed yourself. So you got to feed these people, too, on however long this passage is to get it from over there to over here, when it's easier to just kill off the adults and enslave the children that you find in a place and the women that you find in a place. And then you can tell them that they're from somewhere else because you've killed off their elders. It can tell them any different.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Now, the people that know history know that the so-called Native American, autochthonous American Americans were enslaved. The people on the reservations do not claim to have been anybody's slaves. They claim that they had my people as slaves. So that should tell you right there. If the Native Americans were enslaved, and the Europeans have already acknowledged and admitted that they are pilgrims that came here, and the word pilgrim in and of itself means foreigner, okay? The word pilgrim means foreigner, alien, traveler, stranger. So if they're the pilgrims that came here and conquered and subjected a bunch of people that they found here and enslaved them, and the only people that the slave story is still rolling with are the people that now call themselves African American, well, that tells you who the autochthonous Americans were that were enslaved.
Mm-hmm.
So the Europeans were not enslaved here. They were imported, and a lot of them were indentured servants and slaves by import. Our people were not slaves by import. We were subjugated and enslaved here. And then our children were put on boats, ferried around the Americas and up and down the Mississippi River to disorient them in shackles, and then they were told they were brought here as slaves on ships. And they remembered being on these ships, so they just, put two and two together and made the rest of the story fit, which is what the Europeans did, made the rest of the story fit. But they never told us, they didn't start out telling us that we were brought here from somewhere else. That came later.
Mhm.
They didn't start out calling us Africans in America. And if you start looking at documentation that starts labeling people as Africans, way back in the day, that's somebody who's gone back and cut and pasted and cleaned up the writing. Because originally they didn't call us that. They called us Negro and Mulatto. African came much, much later. Much later. And anybody that goes back and puts that terminology in ancient writings, you know it's been tampered with.
So this is just a confirmation that who they call black people today, the melanated people, as you call them, rich in melanin, inhabited not just Africa but also the continent of America.
At one point in time, there was no such thing as a pale-skinned person on the planet. Originally, dark-complexioned people inhabited all of the planet. Originally, and they were not all from Africa. There were dark-skinned, the Aboriginal, autochthonous, indigenous people all over the world were dark complexion and carry this modern-day term of blackness, which is not accurate because it means bleached up and pale. They can't possibly be black because they're not bleached up or pale or wan and white in color. Stop blowing bubbles on me. I'm on the telephone. I told you earlier, when I get on the phone to back off me. Go in your room, get on the computer, and draw something and animate it. Go make a cartoon. Okay, I'm back.
Yes. No, but this is proof of what we're talking about. Things need to be repeated in order to be applied. And so the younger you are, the more things need to be repeated to you. Is this it? Does it become easier then?
No, absolutely not.
No.
The older you are, the more things need to be repeated to you.
Really?
Okay? Absolutely. Once you get a certain age, you're kind of hardwired. A young mind is still a very moldable and malleable thing that can change and be changed at the ready. You only have to repeat things over and over again to a young mind that has its own idea about what it wants to be doing at a moment. Because a young mind doesn't comprehend that you are busy or doing something else. All they know is, this is what I want to be doing.
Yeah.
It's not that they don't comprehend what you're saying. They don't think it's important. At her age, what's important to her is what she wants to do. And right now she wants to blow bubbles all at me and run around here blowing a whistle, which is not cool while I'm talking on the phone. And she understands and comprehends that I am on the phone, but she also comprehends that she sees me. She doesn't see who's on the phone, and she doesn't care who's on the phone. She wants to blow bubbles, and she wants to blow whistles, and everything else is irrelevant right now. Because young minds are in the moment. So they're in the moment. They have enough sense to know that what the Creator gave them as a gift. Okay? The Creator gave you the gift of the present. The present is your present. That's why it's called present. A present is a gift. The past cannot be redone or repeated or repaired. It's gone. The future isn't even here yet. All you can do is hope for it and plan for it and set goals for it, but you have no guarantee you'll be in the future. You have right now, and children know, I have right now, and I want to do this now. And that's what they tell you now. Because I want to now.
Yeah.
I have now. I don't have
now.
yesterday and I don't have tomorrow. I have now. But it's not that they need to have things repeated over and over again. They comprehend. They just don't give a damn because they have the now and they're doing now.
Wow. So what the old people then? What is it? They have the past and they're thinking about the future. And what keeps us from not being in the moment?
Because they have been spelled on. They have been cursed.
Oh man.
Into losing sight of what is relevant, what's important, and why they're here.
I see. Now,
the Creator put you here to create. but most people do not spend any time creating because most of them are too busy working jobs that they cannot stand to pay bills that they did not ask for. And in some cases, remember, the Creator gave us everything free. Nature gave everything free. The fruits grow free from nature. The water comes free from nature. Everything that you require is gifted at no financial cost from nature and Creator. Some middleman that's crazy came along and said, all of this is mine, and you got to pay me if you want it. You got to go through me to get the Creator's gift to you.
Wow.
And the average grown-up is stuck in that. Children are not stuck there.
Now, what is melanin to you, or what is melanin supposed to be? Because you talk about melanin rich, and so what is melanin poor, what is melanin rich, and what's the advantage of being melanin rich?
Melanin is a superconductor, and the more of it that you have, the closer your frequency is to the omniversal forces of all that is, that people keep calling Creator and, for lack of better words, God. Everyone has melanin. Everybody has melanin, but a lot of people are deficient in it. And I don't know if they did not know or did not comprehend or did not care about the significance and importance of it. If they had, they would have broken their necks to get more of it. But, they had to keep the white race pure, and they screwed themselves in the process. It is a thing that is what is the word I can call it? Like I said, it's a superconductor. Melanin can absorb any type of frequency and convert it and transform it, transmogrify it, and transmute it into any other kind of frequency. It can take sound and make it color. It can take color and make it light. It can take light and make it sound.
So what does that mean for...
It can take any, what do you call it, the harmful rays that they, how they have the hole in the ozone layer, and they talk about these harmful sun rays. Melanin can convert that. The more the harmful rays come through the ozone layer, the more harmful the ray, the more melanin amplifies and keeps up with it with its protection.
So what does that mean? You need. What does that mean for me? What does it do for me as a person who has it, who is rich in it?
Well, that means that you have the capacity to more quickly than others absorb all the vitality molecules that come down from the sun every day.
Oh, so I'm not gonna die from this planet heating?
Not likely. Not likely. If you do, it would only be because of certain things they've done in the diet and certain things that they're spraying over and certain things that they put in the food and water. I'm sorry, I didn't mean diet. Put in the food and in the water. But that is because they're jealous of you because they didn't get what they should have gotten when you were asleep enough to give it. They've been holding melanin conferences and researching melanin richness based on my findings since the 1700s. And they always move the headquarters of these periodically they move the foundation of these research facilities. And, they have come to realize how important it is, but it's not important enough for them to want their own. They want to keep taking ours instead of getting their own. But our people are voluntarily getting rid of it. Oh, I need to have a light-skinned child with light eyes and good hair. I want my baby whiter. I don't want a black, ugly baby. So they get rid of their melanin richness, and they start to lose a lot of what the Creator gave them.
I see. You know, it's funny you say that because they once interviewed Obama. I mean, he's not. I don't want to talk about politics, but they were asking him in terms of selecting a wife, and he said something that had to do with genes. Like he had to get a woman who had stronger genes than his, so that he could improve his genes for the next generation.
Well, I'm so proud of him. At least he had sense enough to know the significance of that. You know how many people are running in the opposite direction of strong genes because somebody told them that recessive and deficient genes are superior?
Mhm.
So this thing they call whiteness is really a recessiveness. You know, people with these light eyes, they're more prone to night blindness, color blindness, excessive sensitivity to light.
Mhm.
Dark-eyed people.
Mhm.
People don't hear the same. They don't hear everything that darker complexion people hear. They don't feel or pick up the things that darker complexion people hear. And it's not about being racialistic. It is what it is, and their researchers have found that out. That's why they've been studying it all this time.
Mhm.
So now they do things like take our aborted fetuses, our aborted fetuses, and our placentas and different things like that, and get a lot of sisters to have hysterectomies and take the wombs of melanin-rich people so they can keep doing what they're doing. And a lot of what they're doing is very destructive. They're attempting to trigger a lot of viruses in people.
Mhm.
Because they're putting a lot of melanin richness into food and drink. Well, that's not the way to get it. Not only is it not the way to get it, but a lot of times you trigger dormant viruses in people.
Mhm.
You know, by getting them to consume human product. And a lot of these, what do you call these pills that guys take to get their phalluses up and keep them hard for increased sexual performance? That's from melanin, usually from melanin-rich people, not cows, like they keep saying.
Mhm.
The melatonin, the melanin tea, the melanin sunglasses, the human growth hormone pills. A lot of this stuff is what's causing people to die from cancers and stuff.
I see.
Because it's triggering dormant activity in the bloodstream that is usually the result of some sort of shot and inoculation you were given in the first place.
Mhm. So if you don't have melanin and you want to get some, or you would like to be more melanated, what are you supposed to do?
Well, there's no such thing as if you don't have melanin. Everybody has melanin. It's a matter of how much. Individuals that are deficient in it, right now they're doing something called, that they say is going to put the suntan business out of business, or the sun tanning booth business out of business. They're doing something called melanotan injections.
Ooh.
It's spelled MELAN like never, OTAN. M like money. ELANOTAN like never, melanotan.
Oh my God.
And they were practicing, they were experimenting on it in Europe and in Arizona. A lot of people are shooting themselves up with these melanotan injections, and you can utilize that to make yourself as dark in complexion as you want to be. But I think you do have to keep the shots up. What you can do is you can get the melanin for your children and make sure your children get with people darker and that they get with people darker to get the melanin, but people are going backward. Everybody's trying to get lighter and brighter and stay on this white power trip. God, why does the screen? You know what I'm saying?
I see. So there's no natural foods, no natural way to go about it? What
now,
would
there
be
may be, but I don't know what that is. The most natural way to have gotten it was to get it from melanin-rich people that had it when they were giving it. You know, and back in the 60s, the free love era, a lot of people got it, but they didn't keep going with it. They just got enough to stay alive.
Uh-huh.
Because melanin deficiency will cause you to be not reproducing as a species. It will also cause you to die off from a lot of the skin type cancers from the sun and stuff like that. The melanin deficiency just causes all kind of problems. But,
so are you saying
that that's superior?
Are you saying that if the people who are called white people today do not reproduce themselves, do not get married and reproduce themselves to black people, they will die off?
Yeah, they'll die off. They're dying off. In as much as they're not really reproducing. That's one of the reasons why they're adopting everybody's children, even to the point that Russia said, y'all can't have no more of our children. They're running to Africa, taking people's children, running to Haiti, taking people's children, because they're not really reproducing, because the melanin deficiency is really a birth defect. But I try not to go there because people get, start getting insulted and accusing me of being racial and racist. But it's basically a form of albinism. And albinism is a birth defect.
Mm-hmm.
And the defect, you're going to either keep reproducing the defect or a worse defect, or you're going to wind up dying. Remember, they're basically acknowledging that so-called white people are having less than one child per couple.
Mhm.
And then as far as they're concerned, people are marrying out of the race, and then you have a bunch of homosexuality and different things that are also not reproductive or reproducing. So now you go around the world and you steal other people's children and melanin-rich children because you didn't do what you should have done to make sure that you could keep reproducing. But because the so-called white race really isn't a race, because, in order to be a race, you need to be able to trace yourself to the same sets of parents. Example, I have 4 siblings, okay? One of whom is no longer with us. My mom had 4 children. Each one of us had a different father. Because we do not come from the same mom and dad, we are not a race. We are not a race. But if we came from the same mom and dad, we would be a race. So this thing that they keep calling the white race doesn't exist. The black race does not exist. They don't exist. You have people, and you have some people that are just what you call melanin-rich in albinism. Then you have a bunch of people running around here that are white in complexion, but they're not really people.
So coming back to the English language, because all that is so interesting, you speak about hell. Because all it sounds like hell.
Well, the word hell just basically means confusion and things that are not easily discernible or easily comprehended.
But also, hell that you say means Greek. What does the word Greek mean?
Well, the word Greek, that's right, hell does mean Greek. The word Greek comes from the word graikos, spelled Graecus, I think, graikos, which means gray, which means bleached up, pale, and white in color, just like the word black means bleached up, pale, and white in color. So Greek really means this term that everybody keeps calling white. And then people tell me, oh, no, but the ancient Greeks were black. I'm like, no, the ancient Greeks were not black. No so-called Greek, well, based on the definition of black, yeah, they were. So black means white. But no so-called Greek was this term that people keep utilizing to define today's look that everybody calls black. Because the word in and of itself meant bleached up, pale, and white in color. Like the word black means bleached up, pale, and white in color. So the ancient people that people keep calling Greeks that were melanin rich were not called Greek. They were called something else.
Mhm.
The people that inhabited the region before it got overran by a bunch of bleached up people that had, for whatever reason, had no color, lost their color. There are people that lost their color, and then there are those that never had it.
Mhm. I see.
Remember, the whiteness is also one of the curses of the Creator. You know, in the Bible, the being made white was a curse.
Because of the absence of melanin?
No, a lot of people, you know, if you're into the Bible, which I'm not, but if you're into it, a lot of people that aggravated Creator or pissed off the Creator were cursed to be white. And they called it leprosy.
Is this why in a lot of places in Africa they have issues with albinos and they tend to kill them and they tend to consider them as some sort of devil in their community? I mean, it's a problem. They kill, or the medicine people make medicine out of them, you know, stuff like that.
That may be accurate. I don't know, because remember, the people of America didn't have anything to do with that. But, you know, whatever was going on overseas in the region that people now call Africa, Asia, India, all, you know, Arabia, all that stuff was over there together. Okay? And the people in America were somewhere else. People in Australia were somewhere else. Didn't have anything to do with a lot of what was going on over there, but that may be part of it. Again, you have people that are born without their melanin. There are people that were born with it and then lost it through some kind of curse. Then you have people that have this skin disease, kind of like what Michael had. I forget what it was called, which may or may not have been a curse. I don't know. Don't start me lying. Then you have people that inbreed, because if you inbreed too much through incest, you start spitting out bleached out people also.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have this thing running around that has everybody confused about who's who, because a lot of people that people call so-called white today really aren't. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
When I say that, I mean they're not this separate thing. They're really melanin. They're from the melanin-rich family. But you have a bleached-out, white-looking thing out there that is not from the melanin-rich family at all. It's a Neanderthal that raped a bunch of sisters overseas and also has basically shaved itself and is running around today passing itself off as white. And that's one of the reasons why they're encouraging people to stay white so they can keep blending in. Because they can't hide. If everybody was dark complexion, they would stand out like a sore thumb, even next to the albinos. They would stand out like a sore thumb. But they've gotten in everybody's bloodline and created so much confusion that people can't tell a so-called white person from a so-called Neanderthal.
Now, how did the word Hellenic become Greek and become hell?
Well, I don't know how it became that. Now, that's ancient history. I don't know how it became that. I just know when I do my research and due diligence on etymology, utilizing multiple dictionaries and whatever, this is what I have found. But how it came to be that, don't start me lying. You know, somebody might want to go to the Vatican and see if the Pope and them will let them in the damn vaults and the libraries that they have of things that they've gone around the world and stolen from everybody's empire. They probably have exactly how and why and who and when and where and all the prophecies. I'm sure all of that stuff is sitting up in the Vatican.
Now,
the rest is in Harvard, Yale, Johns Hopkins University, the Smithsonian Institute, and these kind of places. They're very adept at stealing everybody's culture, ours in particular in America, and burying it so nobody knows who we are over here.
So, how do we undo this?
The first order of undoing anything is to wake up first and become aware of it. That's the first step in undoing any. You can't fix a problem until you see there is one. So the first step to undoing or righting a wrong is to become aware that there is a wrong. And then when you become aware that there is one, you determine which side of the fence you're on in it. In other words, you have to figure out, after you become aware that there's something wrong, then you have to figure out, have you been a part of the solution or have you been a part of the problem? But if you're not a part of the solution, you are the problem. You're not part of the problem. You are the problem.
Yeah. So who are the people who are the problem? Like, what is a problematic person to you?
Right now, the people that are the problem come in all shades and colors. And to me, we're at a point now, things have gotten so out of hand at this point, it's not any longer a so-called black-white issue. It really is not, and I don't know if it ever was. In America, it never was. These people came over here and brought it here probably because of the way they were being treated by their African brethren, as you're saying, whatever the case may be. But the people over here in America didn't have anything to do with that. However, I perceive that the biggest problem right now is the predators in the midst, particularly the ones that damage children and women that would be the mothers or are the mothers of children. Damaging these children creates monsters because you have two primary types of monsters out here that walk this line of not sane, and they are psychopaths and sociopaths. Psychopaths are born, sociopaths are made. Psychopaths are just messed up by nature. They don't even know what they're doing. They don't even know that the mess they're doing is wrong because they just don't know any. They're just messed up. Sociopaths, they know this mess is wrong. They don't care. They have no empathy, no sympathy, no compassion. They feel nothing. They could care less that what they're doing is wrong. But somebody made them crazy. Sociopaths are made, not born. And they're usually the result of predators.
So,
and a lot of times they become the predators, damage children, make them sociopaths, and a lot of times they'll go out and damage more children, make them sociopaths. You know what I'm saying? Or the damage done to a woman that is gonna be a mother or soon to be a mother from a sociopath may cause her to birth a psychopath. The psychopaths are born.
So all this raping of women, because
and children, boys and girls.
Raping of children, especially attacking children and women in a sexual way. Why do they attack through sex?
Well, again, something wrong with the Neanderthal anyway. You know, most of the Neanderthals are just basically psychopaths, born crazy by nature. And then they insist on inbreeding, and they keep telling everybody it's about keeping the white race pure. It's not about that. It's about keeping the Neanderthal alive. Because a lot of people think the Neanderthals are dead. They believe that they're extinct, and they're not extinct at all. Hi. That's great, and I'm on the phone still.
So, what is the interest of these predators in messing up children to recreate? Do they need a chaotic society, a violent society? Is that their way of life? What is the interest?
That is the nature of a psychopath and a sociopath. Death, destruction. You know? Okay? They're all about death and destruction. They're here to destroy. You have creators' children that are here to create. Cannot create because they have to go through psychopaths and sociopaths just to eat and live and have roofs over their head. And in the countries where that is not the case, then the European Union, headed by a bunch of psychopaths and sociopaths, will utilize the United States military, because the United States is their military arm and bully, to go around the world and subjugate the countries and the nations and the people that is not the case. If it's not the case that you're having to go through us to eat, live, and breathe, we're going to stick the United States on you so they can subjugate you in democracy and claim that they're bringing you a better way and make everything screwed up in your world so we can come over there and screw everything up some more. because we're predators by nature, either born such or made such.
So this is just their nature, and they that's just how it is. So now, how do we need to be? Because if that's their nature, then they're going to keep being who they are.
Yes, but the problem is, yes, they're going to continue to be who they are, because again, if you're a psychopath, you just don't know any better anyway. Okay, you can't help it. It is you, and you are what you are. Sociopaths don't want to help it, but the problem is they go out and create additional psychopaths and sociopaths and get them inducted into secret societies and other nonsense. When they bring in people that are not psychopaths or sociopaths by nature, and they involve them. But what they'll do is they'll play the rhetoric that they need to hear in order to get them to participate in their sociopathy or their psychopathy. And what they do is they'll use the rhetoric. If you hate women, they will sing that, woman hatred rhetoric song that you need to hear. If you hate so-called black folks, they will sing the song you need to hear. If you hate people that have money and power, they will sing that song. I'm on the phone still. If you hate people that don't work and, that are, as they say, draining the system of freebies and benefits, they will sing the song that whatever your song is, they have rhetoric for you. Because it is the nature of a sociopath in particular, more so than a psychopath, to get everybody else to follow their crazy way of doing and being. And it's like, you need to be like me. Everybody wants to be like Mike. You don't even know Mike, but you want to be like Mike. And Mike is not sane. So a lot of people that are not sane, trying to fit in where they can get in or be with the in crowd, kind of like a pack of children in high school. Okay? You have people that are psychopaths and sociopaths in high school. Usually the sociopaths more so than the others. But you have a bunch of people that are not psychopaths and sociopaths, but because the sociopath is notorious for getting people to follow them and get them to be the leader in the whole fit-in, a lot of people that are not sociopathic or psychopathic will follow a sociopath straight to hell, and everybody wants to be a part of this group because this appears to be the in crowd, but this is the meanest group in the school a lot of times because the head of the group is crazy. To the point that a lot of times the members of the group are so scared and terrified of this person, they will do whatever the hell they say because they're scared that if they don't, this person, being as sociopathic and psychopathic as they are, will turn on them.
Wow. There's a lot of African leaders like that who terrorize their own.
It's not about color.
Yeah, they terrorize their own populations, but they're working for the benefit of the sociopaths out there and the psychopaths out there. So let's take in.
Remember too that some of those have been made sociopathic. Don't forget that. So remember, I told you sociopaths are made. Psychopaths are born.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
We're gonna take in a caller, a guest caller from Quebec, and she may have a question. So let's bring her in for a second.
Okay.
Hello, Balkis.
Hi, Louise.
Put that away.
Thank you so much for tuning in and for calling in.
Thank you for having me.
How is Quebec?
Quebec is cold.
So, wow, you've been following the show, and you speak French and you speak Creole.
Yes.
And your parents are from Haiti, and we're speaking about this English, the English language and the English spell. What do you think about it, and do you have a question for Dr. Yafabe?
First of all, thank you, Doctor, for everything that I've learned tonight. I had no idea whatsoever of the etymology of the English language. I was very much surprised. I was looking it up while you guys were talking, and I was just wondering.
Good, my kind of gal.
And I was wondering, for language like French, would that be the same type of history? Because obviously French comes from Latin, which comes from a mixtures of different languages as well, or ancient languages. Can we go back and do the same exercise for French and see, well, that maybe it's not a real language as well, and there's words that we use in French that are oppressive and that, need to be, exercise of our language, if you want to say.
I don't know. I honestly couldn't answer that. But because it's your language and you may have known it a great deal of your life, especially if it was your first one, it would be easy for you to go and do the etymological research on a lot of the words you use on a regular basis. I would think it's probably less the case than it is with English. English is worse because a lot of the English words are French, Old French, Lower French, this type of thing.
Okay. That's interesting because how when Louise can say that how we have so much similar words in French, like Negro, nègre, and all these other words are very similar. So if you look at, the history of it, it probably would be maybe similar.
That probably is the case, but French is probably a bit more pure than English is.
Okay.
But don't quote me. It's not my language, and I haven't done any due diligence on the source of the language. I learned French in junior high school, but, like all languages, if you have no one to speak it with, you forget it. I'm still on the phone.
It's very interesting that you say that because they say that French is the international language of diplomacy, and the Berlin Conference that divided Africa into countries, which are companies, they were speaking in French. So what would be the reason there?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what the reason is. The original French were not as bad. There were a lot of, remember, the Americas were chopped up by a lot of European countries. I think at one point Russia had San Francisco. At one point I think the French had Canada and the southeastern portion of the region. I think the Spanish came in and took the southern portion. Then Germany was, the Dutch were, everybody was running around fighting over a house that was already occupied by people who now, there's a saying, the Indians have been Africanized and the Europeans have been Indianized. So it's difficult to say just how this went, but a lot of Europeans got over here and started fighting about this house, and at some point, I think the English and it might have been the English and the Spanish might have tried to cut Germany out. It was real crazy. They were warring and battling and bickering to no extent about a house that was already occupied by today's so-called African-American, Negro, black, colored, mulatto people, whatever they're calling us these days, who most of them don't know the truth because they just know what they were told. The people that control the lands control the information. So what can I say?
Very, very nice. I can't thank you enough, Dr. Bay, for being with us. We only have a few minutes left. Now, I want to ask you a last question that we can close on, and then we can let you go, and then I'll speak to Balkis. I'll continue to speak to her for a few seconds. Now, the last question is about marriage and the word marriage itself, and in the English language and in the American culture and society as it is, and legally, what it actually means.
Well, marriage is kind of a two-part word. I see mariage. Mari means male or husband. M-A-R-I, M-A-R-Y, marry. The word marry means male or husband. And marriage, if you just break it down to marriage, is the age of the male and the husband being in control. And no disrespect to men, because, we love our men, but God dang, patriarchy has destroyed the dang planet.
Whoa. So if marriage is the age of the married man being in control, then I guess they can allow gay marriage.
that may be true, but then again, that also helps to destroy creation. See, that's where things need to be put back in the hands of women, and things need to be matriarchal again. And right now, they do a lot. They claim for the Queen, of England, which is the woman that they are supposed to be working for. But I'm not sure how sane she is, really. But the fact is, you can't have a bunch of men advisors telling you as the woman what to do and not listening when you tell them anyway, and you're going to do what they suggest. Remember, when they were taking out the Americas, a lot of the rulers that they were working for were children at the time. And the advisors would ask the child something, while they're playing. And it's like, the Queen said, let's go. We can do it.
I remember
and the Queen
that.
is like 6 or 10,
Yeah.
And the men are like, we just want to do this and that. And King James, all you had to do with King James was be one of his favorite male lovers, and he would give you whole portions of the Americas and make you the governor. But marriage is a whole different concept. There are a lot of ways to break that word down, and I just gave you off the top of my head, but it really is about tying you to the corporation. Has nothing to do with you and your significant other or your consort or your lover. It's about tying you in corporate to the corporation.
Well, marriage first probably didn't start anyways as a union for love. I mean, that's recent if we think about it in history. Before it was about keeping people in the same social class, people in the same divisions. You would marry for social reasons. You wouldn't marry for love. This is recent if we think about it.
Not only that, it was not only, you're correct, but not only that, it was always about a male getting with a particular female to get her dowry. It's always been about taking away from the woman.
Okay.
Because when they got going, when the men started doing what they were doing, it was because they were so jealous of women. She had, it was about marrying and getting the dowry of what she had. It's like, our daughter has this, and this, and the man is trying to come up economically in wealth. Okay, because a lot of things were matriarchal in one way or another. And then they were also jealous of her sex drive because, she's like an Energizer bunny that can go and go and go, and he's got to stop and give him a minute to breathe and get it up again. They were very jealous of them, seriously. If you do some research, you will find men, especially those that were the head of the clergy, were very hateful of women. The Pope of Rome and them tried multiple times to kill off Queen Elizabeth I. They hate women. They didn't like them then. They don't like them now.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we don't care. We will continue to be. And thank you so much, Dr. Yafa Bey, for being with us and your patience. And thank you to your daughter for being patient and for reminding us to be in the present.
You're welcome. Thank you for calling in, too. It was my pleasure. And enjoy what's left of your Earth arrival day.
Yes, I will. I'm going to continue the show with Balkis and talk about that a little bit more.
Okay. Well, thank you for having me. It was my pleasure, and I'd like to thank all of your callers for tuning in and staying on because I'm not easy to listen to. I'm very hard for a lot of people to hear.
Very easy.
I will replay your show.
Huh?
I will be replaying your show to refresh my mind, like you said, that we need to replay these things in our mind. So I will be replaying your show to refresh my mind. And please tell the listeners where they can get get your information, get your book, how they can get in touch.
I don't really promote product, but I can be reached at my website is yafabey.com. That's Y-A, F like Frank, another F, A, B like boy, EY.com, yafabey.com, YAFFABEY. My email address, contact information, phone number is there, but I can also be called at 213-928-6155. That's the Los Angeles, California Magic Jack telephone number. And they can email me at yafabey@gmx. That's like Georgia, Mexico, X-ray, gmx.com, yafabey@gmx.com.
Yes. And I will definitely keep in touch, and I will email you again because we need to talk more.
Yeah, and before you go, can you pronounce, is it Imana? How do you pronounce?
Yes, you said it right, Imana.
I thought so. I love that word. Thank you for sharing that. I've already started telling people about it, and everybody's like, I like the way that feels when I say it. It has a marvelous resonance.
It is. It's the most powerful.
Everybody's trying to figure out a better word for God. It's like,
yes.
We need another word for God, really.
Yes, that is the word. It's the most powerful. It's the creator, Imana.
I like it. I thought that was it, but I wanted to make sure.
All right.
And is the other one Murakoze or Murakoze?
Murakoze. That means thank you.
Well, hey, Murakoze for having me on.
Murakoze.
Okay. Ashe.
Ashe, good night.
Good night.
Wow, that was so inspiring. Balkis, what are you saying?
I really thought she was very inspiring, very, and I honestly, every time you guys were talking, I was just like, oh my God, what is this? And I was looking up all the words on her website that she was like, the origin of the word bad and good and nice, and it's amazing the things that you learn.
Yeah, man. I need to buy a new dictionary because she talks about a dictionary in her videos, and I found out by her videos that I don't even have the right dictionary. You know, we don't even have the right dictionary because different dictionaries will give you different meanings, right?
Yeah, we were given our dictionaries, you know. I mean, you use your Larousse in French and you use your Webster in English. That's what we use. You never think of looking up these words, and you feel that, you know what, we live in ignorance. And
yeah.
But as long as you live in ignorance, people will control you, and it's just so true.
Yeah. So what do you think about, like, this is the best birthday gift present?
Yes. Happy birthday. Happy arrival day.
Yeah, man. For the first time, I'm working on my birthday without complaining.
Well, you know, when you love what you do, you can't complain.
Yeah. Listeners who don't know, me and Balkis go way back. We used to work together for a company, and I got fired from that company from being too funny on the job.
I think if we go back, we can actually say that she purposely got herself fired, but hey, we'll digress.
Now, I mean, if I get paid to be funny, I mean, I will never get fired, man. They did me such a great favor at the time.
I regret it today.
Oh, wait till I become rich and famous and go and get an insurance with them for my Range Rover.
Buy the company.
Oh, yeah, I think I'll buy the company, man.
Buy the company.
Best revenge is to buy the company that fired you, right? It fired me, turned me rich, and then I'll go back and buy the stock.
And without saying any names, you can tell Ted de Tortue what to do all day long.
Oh, my God. Oh, man. He's fired. Oh, man. Balkis, thank you so much for tuning in.
No problem. Anytime.
And
this thing, and happy birthday. I don't know how to say happy birthday.
In which language? In a language that's not hell? No, say it in Creole. Since French is a little less messed up, Creole is a mixture.
Bonne fête, and it's the same thing. There's no other way to say it. It's bonne fête in Creole and in French. It's the same way.
I think in Kinyarwanda it's something like Isabo Kurunziza. You know, it's not actually like happy birthday. There's no like birthday, rebirth. It's like the day of you becoming great or looking great or something that has to do with you becoming greater.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Well, but happy you getting greater every day. Because I guess that's your birthday every day then. You forget a year. You don't think a year. Every day is that day for you.
Oh, let's repeat it. We'll record video and repeat it. She said we need to be recording all these things that we wish for ourselves. Yo, Balkis, this is so great for you because now you know how to talk to your future kids.
I know.
Yeah. you're like conscious, and then all these things, this programming, you can tell the kid whatever you want,
Yeah,
depending on what you want them to become, right?
I'll go learn the language first because I need to learn it all over again.
Yeah.
And I have a little short time to learn it and start practicing. Let's go.
Okay. Thank you. And asante sana, that's thank you in Swahili.
Thank you. How do you say it?
Asante sana.
Asante sana. Okay.
Asante sana.
So, take care of yourself.
Thank you very much. I will be here next week again for my listeners. Loving my job. Next week we're going to talk about love. It's Valentine's Day.
Valentine's Day, yes.
Yeah, so tune in. We're talking about love. We're with an expert on the subject.
Oh, we can learn something again. Every week I learn something, so no problem.
We'll make love on the radio.
There we go.
Oops. Good night.
Good night.
My international people, thank you for being with us. Have a great evening. Educate, learn, be aware of what you are, who you want to be, and tell that to yourself. Yeah. Muramuche murote imana. Mugire umugisha. Ijoro ryiza. Rizwachu, Vancouver in the house.